Hello and welcome to Nanapod, a podcast dedicated to the fantastic manga written by A. Yazawa. I'm Crystal, and I'm joined by my best girl Kirsten as we dissect this manga, discussing everything from the emotions, the cultural impact, as well as any headcanons that might be floating around in our brains. With this podcast, we hope to preserve a shoujo staple that sadly hasn't been talked about in a very long time. So come with us. We're waiting for you in apartment 707. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Nanapod and our final bonus story. At least I believe it's our final bonus story. Nobu, a Nana special side story. And we open with narration. It says, "My hometown. You'll know where it is when you get here. You should stay at the Terashima Inn when you come. Our beautiful proprietress awaits you." And then now we have a shot of the inn and a bowl of chocolates? Candies? Yes. And it says, "Please take one." And there's a hand that reaches out and grabs one. And it's little Nobu. And then someone shouts, "Nobu!" And he turns around, and I think this is his mother. She's like, "How many times do I have to tell you? The candy's for the customers, not for you. If you don't listen to me, I'll have to lock you up in the warehouse." And she grabs him, and he's thinking about the warehouse and how spooky it is. And he's like, no, there's ghosts in there. Oh, really? And she's like, "Then stop eating the candy. Don't cry about ghosts." And now he's outside. He's crying. He's thinking about candy. And there's a young girl that comes over, and she's like, "Nobu?" And she gives him a candy. And he's like, gasp. And then he looks up at her, and she's like, "I have a present for you, heart." And then he goes, gasp. "Thanks, Yumi." And she's like, "Let's keep it our secret, heart." And then his heart goes thump thump. She's an older girl. And the think boxes say, "I first fell in love when I was 4 with Yumi, who worked at the inn. She was 20. And now we get just like a slew of memories. And he's like, "My mom called herself the beautiful proprietress, but she was scary. My dad was distant," and it's like his mother has a little devil horns, and she's yelling, "Nobu!" And his dad is just going, "Hello." It's like, "So I hung around with the staff, who coddled me completely." And the staff's just like, "Aw, little Nobu, heart. I already had a weakness for sweets." And it's Yumi, and she's like, "Secret." And he's like, "But then the summer of 3rd grade, Yumi got married and quit." And there's a boy in his class. He's like, "Nobu, thanks for the game. That was fun." And he's thinking, "No more sweets for me." And someone else in his class is like, "I hate milk." The guy who's giving him back the game is like, "I cried at the ending," but he's already talking to this other girl, and she's like, "What?" And she's like, "But if I don't drink it, I'll get in trouble." And he says, "Then I'll drink it for you." And she's like, "Really? Take it now, heart." And his heart goes thump. And the think boxes says, "I just liked milk. I didn't grow tall, but I did grow to like Morishita. I fell in love too easily." But then, in the spring of 5th grade, Morishita transferred to a new school somewhere far away. I forget where. And now he's thinking, "No more milk for me either." And then there's a girl that goes, thump, eek! And then she's like, "No, something landed on me. Eek, eek, eek." And it's just like a worm on the top of her head. And he's like, "It's okay, don't move." And then it looks like their scout troop leader is like, "What happened?" And this girl is going, "Quiver, quiver, quiver." And her friend's like, "Tomo, are you all right?" And Nobu has taken the worm off and put it on the leaf. And he says, "Bye-bye, heart." And then Tomo says, "What was it? A caterpillar?" And he says, "No, it was just a nut." He's lying. And then she's like, "Oh, phew, thank you, Terushima, heart." And now he's got the blushes with the heart. He says, "The next girl I fell in love with was my age, Tomoyo. She was a Girl Scout, but she was terrified of bugs." And then back at the inn, he's thinking, girls are delicate. Morishita was like that too, heart. And he's going for the sweets, and his mother's like, "Nobu!" And he's like, "No, it's different from being delicate." And one of the staff is like, "Welcome home, dear." And he's thinking, there's a limit to how easily you fall in love. I was full of holes like that. I guess I liked playing the hero by helping damsels in distress. And this girl is like, "My hands are sticky." And he's like, "I'll do it for you, heart." It's like, so I looked forward to the joint outings with the Girl Scouts. It's like, "Where's Tomo?" And he's holding a little donation box. And the other girl is like, "She quit the other day." And he's got the dots, and his heart breaks. And this other little girl's like, "Please make a donation." And she's thinking, but I guess I was the only one looking forward to it. And now he's getting older. And there's this girl in his class who's like, "Good morning, Nobu." And he's thinking, well, I'll meet someone else who'll make my heart flutter. And one of his guy classmates is like, "Nobu, your blazer's huge." Ha ha ha. And he's like, "You think?" And this is an entrance ceremony for the first junior high school. And someone else says, "Morning, Nobu." And now at the welcome ceremony, people are like, "Congratulations for making it into our school. We'll start with a performance by the Pop Music Club. We hope you enjoy it." And Nobu says, "Hey, what's the Pop Music Club?" And this other boy's like, "A group of kids that play in rock bands and stuff. Awesome, huh?" And Nobu's like, wow. Sounds kind of cool, heart. And his heart goes thump. And this other guy's like, "Hey, does your family run the Terashima Inn?" But before Nobu can answer, there's a strum of a guitar. And they both look up. And who do they see but Ren? Baby Ren. He's so adorable. And Ren just kind of looks out at everyone, little sly smile on his face, and all the boys are like, "Oh God." And then there's a whap from a drumstick, and then the think boxes say it all started with Ren's guitar solo, which was totally out of control. It seemed like the spotlight was completely on Ren. And then the girls in the back are like, "Cool, heart. He's third year." It's like the buzz around me. And the lead singer faded into the background. I couldn't hear it. Only Ren's guitar boomed inside me. It's like, aw, that's so cute. Giving you your first love. I just knew this would be my real, true love. And then later, now he's all different. He's got his hair spiked up. Just like Ren. And it's the Pop Music Club. And Nobu's like, "Hello." And the boys in there are like, "Oh, Nobu." And Ren turns around and he's smoking a cigarette. And he's like, "Oh, Ren, what are you doing here? How are you?" And he's got just big, big sparkle eyes with a heart. And the boys are like, "Wow, Nobu's calling Hanjo by his first name. Like, he doesn't care." And Ren's like, "I just came here to smoke a cigarette, but don't tell teacher." And then he's like, "Where'd you get that guitar? It's a real Gibson." And Nobu's got all the sparkles, and he's like, "My dad got it for me, heart." And Ren's like, "Damn, and you don't even play that good, Richie Rich." And Nobu says, "But I can play pretty good now." And Ren says, "Oh yeah?" And then he leans forward and he goes, "Go sell these tickets. you got a lot of friends for no reason. And he kind of bops him in the nose with it with a heart. Like, Ren, stop flirting. And Nobu's like, what tickets? And then the think boxes said Ren was a third year student. He hardly showed up to the club, but outside of school he was in a band with older guys and already playing bars. Yeah, Ren. Oh, Ren. It's not safe. But anyway, they're at this nightclub now, and it says Enter Brute, the band. And Nobu is too young to be at this concert, but that happens. And he's like, what the hell is this? Because it's clearly a punk show, and everybody's drinking and people are crowd surfing and yelling, and it's just a whole thing. And he's like, the lead singer Aruto had a few screws loose. You couldn't tell if he was singing or shouting. The bassist Tiaga was hard enough to drink whole bottles of beer in one gulp while playing. It's like Ren, a tough guy in school, sold love at bargain prices to the ladies up front. To which I'm like, that's icky, because, he's a third year in middle school, and I'm pretty sure that the girls in the crowd are maybe varying ages, but probably some of them are older ladies too. Unsafe. And then there's Yasu. Yasu with hair, playing the drums. And Nobu's thinking, only Yasu, the stoic in the back, keeping time, seemed like a normal guy. He still had his hair back then. And now here's Nobu shouting with a little blush and heart in his mouth. And he's like, that was awesome. I want to be in a punk band too. He's just shouting it to the band. And the entire band is looking at him with like who the fuck is this kid? And Ren's got the dots. And one of the girls is talking to Ren, but he's ignoring her because he's looking at Nobu. And she's like, great show. And one of the other girls is like, Aruto, heart. And Nobu has just a sign on the back that says waiting with a heart. And he's thinking, in those days, everything Ren did was mesmerizing. People call that love. Not the drummer, their bassist is like, who's that? And Ren's like, he goes to my school. And Yasu says, you're in school? That's good to hear. And Aruto's like, all right, let's party. Come with me. And Nobu's being left behind with all the dots. And the girls are like, yay, heart. And then Nobu's like, can I come too? Everyone else left. And Ren says, no, you're just a kid. Go home to your mommy. And now Nobu's got tears in his eyes with just a heartbreak. And the think boxes say, if I hadn't listened to Ren and gotten friendly with the older groupie girls, my youth would have been a lot more fun. No, my life would have been ruined. Correct. And one of these girls is like, bye, we'll pop your cherry next time, heart. That's not okay, but here we are. And he's like, sure, bye-bye. But he's got a question mark because he doesn't know what that means because he's a kid. And Yasu kind of looks back at him and just kind of has like this smile, like, what a nice kid. He's like, now that I think about it, Yasu was only in 10th grade and the leader of the band like that. I wonder if he really was such a nice, normal guy. And now there's a whap of a CD, and it's the Sex Pistols. Never mind the bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. And he's like, hey, I bought the Sex Pistols CD and music sheets. Let's learn these songs. And everyone else in the band is like, what? And this guy's like, no. And Nobu's heart is just breaking. And he's like, I was in a band with my classmates all through junior high. We played covers of all kinds of music, both Japanese and Western. And back at his place, he's got his headphones on while he's, playing his guitar. He's like, I didn't get much sleep. And he's just sleeping with his guitar. He's like, so I didn't have a girlfriend. and I couldn't get into the high school I wanted. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses. And now that we have the entrance results, and Nobu's thinking, it's all right. At least I got into my last choice school, Heart. And these two kids back here are like, yay! And they're like, how'd you do, Nobu? And now I do believe this might be his father. And he's like, don't be a fool. No more guitar for you. And he's like, my dad, who always let me do whatever I wanted, finally snapped. And he's like, freeze. Like, but you bought me that guitar, Kazuho. And now he's like, where's my guitar? And one of the staff members is like, what's wrong, boy? And because he's looking everywhere, in the kitchen, outside in the snow. And he's like, where's my baby? And they're like, what's wrong, kid? And now he's out in the shed like, how can I live without you? And he's throwing everything out, including a ghost. And he's like, what? God damn it. I'll never take over the family business. Too many ghosts, and lots of them. And yeah, there's a lot of ghosts in this room in here. Um, and one of the little ghosts is like, hee hee, little girl with a doll. And he's just crying. And he's like, I know this isn't what my dad expected to happen. But when he took my guitar away, it made me realize just how much I loved playing it. So now I do believe Ren is working at a gas station called Mimoto. And he's like, hello. And Ren is in the car with a fancy lady, and she's like, high octane, fill her up. And now Nobu's like, hi Ren, Heart, long time no see. How you doing? And Ren is like, what are you doing here, Richie Rich? And he's like, my dad took away my guitar, so I have to work to buy my own. Then it'll really be my guitar. And Ren's got dots. And the girl turns to look at him. She's like, he's a guitarist too? And then Ren just has this soft smile. And he's like, Mom wasn't against me working part-time, saying it would be a learning experience. Dad didn't say anything. He's like, I'm home, flip. And then his dad's like, flip, I'm not going to talk to you. And he's like, he stopped talking to me. I decided to work hard and buy a good guitar. I suddenly felt like an adult by working hard for it. And then back at the inn, he's like, do you have any blister medicine? Ow, ow. And the staff member's like, poor baby, you're so delicate. And then he's like, but that wasn't really the case. I ate lots of great food every day, slept in a warm room, and went to high school, all thanks to my parents. But it was so second nature, I didn't understand how lucky I was. And now here's a very young Nana. And she's like, hi, I'm Nana Osaki. And he turns around to look. And the teacher's like, is that it, Miss Osaki? And she sits down with a plunk because it said self-introductions, and that's all she said. And Nobu's thinking, wow, she's beautiful, like a celebrity. Who is she? And then the teacher's like, oh, well, whose beeper's going off? And he's like, I gotta find out about her, Heart. And then later in the locker, he's like, hey, which junior high did you go to, Osaki? Are you from Japan or outer space? And then people are like, bye-bye, see you tomorrow. And she's looking at him with the dots. And there's a wag of the tail because he's like a puppy. And she flips away from him. And his heart breaks. And his friend in the back is like, she dissed you already? Ha ha. But Nobu just keeps trying because he is a dog. And he's like, good morning, Osaki. And she spins away. And he's like, morning, Nana, Heart. And she goes, And then he's like, Nana, good morning, trying on charm. And she just has dots. And his friend's like, give it up, dude. And the think boxes say, no, I won't give up, Nakamoto. 'Cause Nana seems to hate everything in this world, not just me. And then he's like, where are you going, Nana? And this girl's like, what? You talking to yourself? What a weirdo. And he's like, it's so sad. Not me, but Nana. If you have even just one thing that you like, life can be so much. And he's thinking about Ren and his band. And then there's a clack as he pops all these CDs down. Or she did, because remember from all the way long time ago when she had given him, he had given her CDs, and she gave them back, and she's like, thanks for loaning me the CDs. Next time you get another one, let me listen to that too. And he's thinking, I felt that music had a special power that moves people's hearts. But that's probably because music comes from people's hearts, right? And he's got his own guitar now, and he's like, look, look, it's my new baby, Heart. And then he goes, twing. It was by the end of May, I bought the guitar I wanted so. And it's Ren who's doing his own job, and he's just like, that's sweet, let me play it. And then Nobu's like, no way, Heart. And then the manager of Mimoto is like, what? You're quitting? And Nobu's like, yep, now that I made enough to buy this awesome guitar, Heart, thanks, man. And his boss is like, what are you saying? How can you do this? But you work for me every day. I can't have you just up and leave. And after only 3 months, what are you thinking? No more little rich boys. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I got carried away. I understand. I can work till you find someone new. And he's like, all right, young man, work hard and be good to the customers. I need you. And if you don't take over the inn, take over this place. And Nobu's got the dots, and he's like, yes, sir. So, I finally got my guitar, he's saying, but now I'm swamped with school and work, so I don't have time for a band. You can't always get what you want. And he's on the roof here with Nana, and she's like, you're stupid for just taking on some job like that. And he's got the dots, and like, yeah, but I just wanted a guitar quick. And he says, well, it's all right. I'm happy just being able to play guitar. I'll think about a band when I meet people I hit it off with. I want to be in a punk band. And she smiles at him, and she's like, I like that t-shirt. Where'd you get it? Some rich kid store? And he's like, oh, Heart, this? A thrift store in K-Town. They've got lots of rare Vivian stuff. Want to go with me? And she's like, what's Vivian? And the think boxes say, Nana stayed aloof in the classroom, but she talked like a real person when we were alone. So I started to cut class with Nana so she could smoke. But according to Nana, she cut class with me so I could play guitar. So our first term grades sucked. We made fun of each other and just laughed. And back at the gas station, he's like, hello. It's like when summer break started, the manager begged me to stay on. And I worked from morning till night, drenched in sweat. But, later on at the cash dispenser, he's like, wow, I'm loaded. I can buy a Fender, Heart. And a Marshall half stack too, Heart. And then the think boxes are like, I only talk to Nana every now and then on the phone. She seemed busy with her stuff. She seemed fine. So I was cool. I didn't want to feel that way about Nana. And he's thinking, I wonder why? 'Cause she's so butch? I mean, what if I grow old just playing guitar? And then the think boxes are like, then when summer was over, a rumor spread that Nana was doing it with guys for money. Why? And he's like, why won't you deny it? You don't mind getting expelled on a false charge? And she's like, I don't care. I was going to quit school anyway. And he's like, why? It's only been half a year. Just give it a little longer. And she's like, I have to help out at night. I can't work so much and go to school. So I want to work days and make real money. And he's like, is it something you want to buy? And then she turns around and looks at him with like a, what? And then says, that's what a rich boy would think. And then he's just stunned. And then he's like, I deserve that comment. I was ignorant and spoiled. But he's thinking, I'm so sure. I was really worried. She didn't have to be so mean. I can't help it if I'm rich. It's like, I was mostly pissed because she looked down on me. It's like, do what you want? Fine. But now that I think about it, I was bummed because it felt like she was saying we were too different from each other. And now his friend is like, cheer up, Nobu. I'll introduce you to a friend of my girlfriend's. And he's like, there's a girl that's like, aw, come on, Nobu. Girls will like this hairdo. You got so thin. You're even smaller. And she's patting him on the head that says, there, there. And another girl is like, have an anpan. Here, let's hang out. I need to look up what an anpan is. It's a dessert bread filled with red bean paste or other ingredients, created by a former samurai in 1875. It's a sweet treat. It's a sweet treat. And he's thinking, my classmates felt sorry for me as the guy who got double-crossed and ditched by Nana. And then after school, he's like, so it was a false charge, and I wasn't going out with Nana. I lost weight because of work. And his friend's like, all right, I just want you to meet someone. This rich girl who goes to F Girls High. You'll totally get along, Heart. But Nobu looks sad. Until he meets her breasts. Because that's all he's looking at. And this girl's like, hi, I'm Chiho Sasuke, Heart. And he's got the dots and his heart goes pitter-patter. And his friend has like this sly look. And this other girl is like, hey, so can we visit the Terashima Inn? And the think boxes say, somehow by fate, a yummy looking, no, a good looking girlfriend landed in my lap. And my slacker days got even crazier. And this girl is like, Aquarius and Libra get along great. And he's like, really? She's like, yeah, super great, Heart. I'm so psyched, Heart. And she's reading an astrology book. And he's like, she's so hot. But she's a Kogel. Another thing I have to look up. I think we talked about these girls before. They're part of the Garu subculture. They're still in high school, but they incorporate their school uniform into their dress style. Yes, I do believe we discussed this before. And he's thinking, after school, we read our horoscopes till I had to go to work. Heart. Of course, that wasn't enough. So I was climbing trees late at night. She had a strict curfew. And there's a cat that goes, meow, and he's like, shh. And he's like, I was a lucky monkey because they are getting it on after school. And now he's like, 2 bliss-filled, peaceful months passed. And he's up on the roof and he's like, it's cold. My fingers are numb. They won't move. He's like, one day while alone on the roof cutting class, I saw the first snowfall and a lot of it. And he's thinking, huh? But it was sunny just a minute ago. I mean, it was cold, but... So he climbs down the ramp, or attempts to. He's like, damn. And then he's like, shh. Because someone had opened up the door. And then he looked down and there was a question mark. But there's no one there. So he climbs back down and he's like, the door was totally open, but no one was there. I didn't hear anybody leave either. And he's thinking, scary, please. Who was it? And now he has just kind of like this, something felt wrong. Nana had been in the corner of my mind all this time, and now I could physically feel her presence. So I kind of want to point this out just a little bit. It's a tiny bit of a spoiler alert, so if you don't want spoilers, I need you to skip at least the next 5 minutes. So, we already kind of know from Nobu telling us that there's lots of ghosts in his family inn. Now, I don't know if these ghosts follow him or if he has a proclivity for them, But I do have to say that that door opening all by itself is ghostly activity. And way later on, when Ren dies, he's the only one that hears the music coming through the speaker. Now, I always kind of felt that it was Ren saying goodbye, and I do think that that is still the case, but it is possible that Nobu gets premonitions. He just doesn't realize that that's what they are. And I kind of love that for him. I never really thought about it until just now. And I think that's kind of great, you know? He's sensitive in a way that he's not even aware of. And I don't know. I think that's cool for him. So he pulls out his phone and it goes beep. And he was like, it was Nana. Nana must have come looking for me. And there's a ring, and he's like, I am her only friend. And there's a ring, and he's like, why had I ditched her? And then there's a click and of a hello, and it says Nana speaking, and he's like, Nana? And she's on the other end of the line, clearly had not been anywhere near the school, and he's like, oh, good, you're alive. How are you? And then she's starting to tear up on the other side, and he's like, hey, what's wrong? Say something. And she's starting to cry, and he's like, Nana, what's wrong? And she's like, my grandma died. And his eyes get real big. And then it looks like they agreed to meet at a Japanese restaurant called Miyuki. And there's a creak at the door. Oh, that's her place. And he's on the other side, and she's like, long time no see. You've gotten taller. He just looks really sad. And the think boxes say Nana lost her only family a month ago. She must have been feeling so lonely and helpless. I can't imagine the pain she's going through. But there must have been at least one thing that I could have done for her. And she's like, oops, I already packed up the teacups. And he's like, you're moving? And she says, there's no reason for me to live in a place like this all by myself. I can't pay the rent. And he's like, where are you moving? And she says, an apartment with no bath in S-Town. Beer okay? It's not cold, though. And he's like, oh, that's close to my place, Hart. You could shower at our house. And she says, I didn't choose that place because it's close to yours. It's close to work. And he's like, oh, yeah, what kind of work you doing? And she says, cleaning office buildings. And I stuff lunch boxes at a factory at night in S-Town. And she's like, and he says, that's an honest living. Good girl. You're off today? And she says, I got 2 days off because I'm moving tomorrow. Help me pack? And he says, tomorrow? And he says, I mean, I'm glad I got here in time to help. Sigh. You don't have a PSH or a beeper. I almost lost contact with you. Oh no. And a PSH is a personal handy phone system, pre-cell phones. So a pager, basically. And she's drinking her beer and looking really sad. And he's like, oh, that's why your grandma hurried up and she says, what? And he's like, oh, nothing. Where's your grandma's Buddhist altar? And he's like, oh, it's nice and homemade, Hart. Grandma must be happy. And she says, sorry for being poor. Even if I bought a Buddhist altar, I wouldn't be able to take it with me. Just help me pack as quick as possible. And he says, okay, I can help you move tomorrow, Hart. It's better than hiding up on the school roof, and warmer. And she looks at him very distressed. And he puts in an incense stick and goes ding with the bowl. And there's a flick of Nana's lighter, and he's praying. And he's thinking, Nana's grandmother, thank you for letting me know today. From now on, no matter how pissed off I am at her, I'll do my best to make up with her right away. Nana's very beautiful, so if she wanted, she could easily have a boyfriend or two, but I don't think she makes friends very easily, so I'll be her friend for life. Please rest in peace. And Nana's just crying. And the think boxes are like, it's been 5 years since. Secretly, I still keep the vow I made back then. And here he is, a little bit more grown up, working for the gas station. He's like, hello. And it's Ren, and he's like, high octane, fill her up, heart. And he's like, Ren, heart, you bought a new car. Sweet. And Ren says, how can I buy a fancy car like this? I work at an auto shop. It's a customer's. And he's like, that's cool, heart. I can't wait to turn 18 so I can get my license. I want a sweet ride, so I have to bust my butt here. And he's thinking about riding in a car with his girlfriend. He's like, then I can go riding with Chiho. And Ren's like, Nobu, are you working on Christmas? And he's like, nope, I got a date with my lady, heart. And Ren's like, what? When you get a girlfriend, you'd better share. And Nobu says, no way. And then Ren's like, then here's a present for you for losing your virginity. Ren, stop. He's like, 2 tickets to our Christmas show, heart. And now Ren is at Nana's place, and he's like, so you want to go? And she's like, what the hell? Why me? And he says, I'll introduce you to Ren. I think you two would get along. I'd be happy if you got a boyfriend, heart. And she says, don't worry about it. Don't worry about me. Buzz off. You should just hang with your girlfriend on Christmas. And he's like, but Chiho says she always spends Christmas with her family and goes to church. She's Christian. Well, at least on Christmas. She says, sounds like an excuse. She's probably got another guy. And he's got the dots like, what? And then she picks up the tickets and taps him on the nose with it and says, but I feel sorry for you, so I'll go with you, heart. And he says, I broke up with Chiho that summer, but not because she had some other guy. I hope. She thought I had another girl. And he's like, really, there's nothing going on with me and Nana, believe me. And she's like, then you don't have to be in a band with her. Who's more important to you, me or her? And then he just lets her go. And he's like, that question was like being asked, which is more important, me or your guitar? I couldn't answer that. I mean, it's fair to let her go anyway, Nobu. You don't want someone who's that jealous. It just causes problems. And now the think boxes are like, after that, every time I had a girlfriend, they always said things like that. I realized that no matter how much you like each other, if you can't respect the things that are important to the other person, the relationship won't work. Which is true. And now we have kind of the flash forward to the future, where Nana was writing the wishes on the tree. It says, I hope that Blast goes big time. He's thinking, but no matter who's the father, this is what Takumi said, if Nana wants to keep the baby, I plan to recognize the baby as mine and take care of them both. What do you think about that? He's like, I. And then someone says, Nobu? It's Yuri. And he's like kicked out of his thoughts. And she's like, you're still up? And he looks over at her and smiles. And he's like, because you smell like candy. It reminded me of all these things from my past. My life's been full of earthly desires. And she's like, I had another nightmare. Ugh. And he's like, what was it? A ghost? And Yuri says, me, you crawled out from inside a well. Oh no. Not that Japanese ghost. And then Nobu's just laughing. But the think boxes are like, I hope these happy, peaceful days continue. That's truly what I'll always want. But reality's harsh. I'm not dependable. I don't know if I'll be able to keep my promise to support Asame or the promise I made to Nana's grandmother, but I'll always try. By the way, the first love that my dad took away is still waiting for me in my room. The next day off I'll go visit my parents and hold it tight till morning. It's been a while. I feel an incredible song coming on, one that'll make people cry when they hear it. Well, that's good, Nobu, because you were told that you need to write more. So that is finally the end of volume 16, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. We will be returning in volume 17 here this month. So, thank you so much again, and I will see you all in the next one. Good night.